My sweet summer child, Mordhau. When you released in 2019, you were a hit. The successor to Chivalry, one of the most popular sword-fighting medieval game of the 2012. And boy, did you come in a storm. Mordhau came out and it brought something new. It brought back what we remembered from Chivalry, but advanced upon it in every single way, with smoother combat, better graphics, better mechanics, and bigger battles. And boy, was it incredible. But it's been quite some time. There's been a lot of changes to the game, and most of them, unfortunately, aren't that great. But let's take a look at how Mordhau has survived into 2021. The game released to much fanfare in 2019. Moving into the medieval genre, it had been quite some time since we got something that wasn't a AAA title, yet really felt like it in terms of quality and style. Mordhau filled this spot. We hadn't had anything in this genre for a few years now, and it was a much needed, refreshing break into the medieval world. Mordhau was a first-person hack-and-slash combat simulator. It brought multiplayer on a large scale with siege-type maps, and of course, some of the most hectic frontline battles ever. For example, the map Camp was one of the first I experienced. One team attacking, one team defending, trying to push up a cart to the fort to then explode it through the gates and take the enemy encampment, all whilst cavalry running all over the battlefield, arrows, bolts flying every which way, catapults smashing into teammates' backsides, and the trebuchets flying overhead. And yes, they could come down hard on you and hit you. Mordhau brought gore to the next level. Dismemberment, decapitation, flying hits from every angle, slicing at people's faces and throats. It was a brutal affair, and the game was fantastic. I remember when it first came out, being absolutely blown away by the frontline game mode. This was something that I never really experienced before. Whilst it was in a similar aspect in Chivalry, I was never really at the age group for that. When Chivalry came out, I was 13 years old, and PC gaming wasn't really on my radar. So when Mordhau released near my 20th birthday, I was the perfect age to experience what others had done previously. I even started some cool clans. I had loads of experience leading clans from Mount & Blade and tried to bring that over to Mordhau's experience, getting servers and of course doing trainings, in-clan skirmishes, and then even doing fights against other clans. And it was fun for a while, but unfortunately Mordhau just didn't lend itself to that type of clan and community warfare. But as time goes on, the developers added in more things, expanding maps like the Mountain Peak, extending it further into the castle where you use a battering ram to breach the gates, or the Triternion map, a full siege map where you'd have to push up a siege tower to the walls, also while being thrown down by projectiles and of course rocks. Later on we got more added to the competitive scene with better dueling and new arena maps. We also got 3v3 battles, which were fantastic for that sort of gameplay stuff. Me myself, I've never been much into the competitive side no matter what the game is, but it was cool to check it out, and when the game initially came out I wasn't too bad at it. These days you could probably say different. However, as time passed, as you'd expect with any game, player base started to drop. And that's not something that Mordhau has done any different. Every multiplayer game goes through that time where the core player base sticks around, yet everyone else moves away. They've had their fun with the game. And unfortunately in Mordhau's case, that core player base completely changed the game. You see, we've seen this happen in a lot of games. There's the elitist competitive gamers. Anyone that's new just doesn't get a chance. You'll be called trash for just trying to learn how to play the game. There'll be people that would exploit the game using its spinning glitches and all the combat mechanics that you wouldn't get unless you spent hundreds of hours studying them. But you see, I don't care about that. I think most people don't care about that. You'll always have this elitist community that think that they're better at the game than everyone else, and most of the time it's because they are. But Mordhau isn't noob friendly for different reasons. A lot of the community that is left just seem to be extremely toxic, and this has always been a case in multiplayer games where you have these toxic people in the community, yet Mordhau seems different. I remember near a launch there were articles about how the developers were supporting racists within their game and not banning people because of racist comments, and at the time I defended the developers because It's stupid. You're always going to get dumb people within the game that say dumb things, and the developers aren't racist just because they haven't perma-banned them instantly. And at the time, it was very true, because there were so many people playing the game. The people that said dumb and stupid things were the minority. But now the player base has dwindled. Now it's not in the spotlight anymore. Most of the people that has left is this toxic player base. This has now become the majority of who plays the game. And trust me, if you still play the game, I'm sure this probably isn't new. But from my experience, the last few times that I've gone onto this game, and I've been playing since alpha, but I've had a very long break, probably about a year since last playing it, it's always been these toxic players in chat. I'm all for an edgy joke. I believe you can joke about everything in the right context and with the right approach. Yet this feels different. If you get offended easily, first of all, don't. But second, you might not want to watch this bit, because this is just one game that I entered on an official server, and this was the chat. And I feel sorry for the developers, because they've made a game that is actually genuinely good. If you look at all the Steam reviews, it's always the same thing. The game is great, the mechanics and the combat is fantastic. What they've done with this already founded gameplay type is amazing. They've put it to the next level, and they've shown that they can make it in a very polished AAA feeling way, but the community's toxic. And that's what every single review says. And it's sad, really, because it is a good game and the developers are still working hard on it, yet the community that seems to have festered here just doesn't seem like a community that really wants to accept other people into it, and that way the game can never grow. I also feel really sorry for the people that do just play games for fun, that play games just because they want to experience something that they can't in their real life, and they don't want to see people spouting their absolute political nonsense that no one actually cares about. A game like Mordhau, or any game in that case, is not a place to spout your opinions, because let's be honest, no one cares. And I hate this, because this is making me come across as the cool kids would say, an SJW. But I'm not saying that Mordhau's trash. I don't think the developers should be shunned for this, and whilst I think they made some mistakes in the past, I don't think this is any particular person's fault, and honestly I don't think it will change. It's just the way that Mordhau has become, and that's why I think it is more sad than anything. I don't see Mordhau coming back from this reputation of a really bad community. Every update they bring out does something new, bringing new maps, new game modes, yet it doesn't overshadow what is inherently based in the game, going into a public server and seeing some of the most horrendous things you have ever seen, even on the internet. I can see it from the other side as well. The developers have had so much shit spewed at them from the past few years that people have just not taken them seriously. And they've tried to fix it. They've tried to ban people, but they end up just going a bit gun-ho and banning people that don't deserve it. Banning people that have just said a stupid joke sometimes in the game, rather than something actually hateful. I don't think someone should be banned for saying something that is, yeah, a bit edgy, but at the end of the day you can tell has no real meaning or viciousness behind it. And that has happened, so I can see why people are angry at the developers as well. It seems like these two sides just are fighting each other constantly. One group trying to make the best game they can whilst trying to stem the raging community that seems to be pushing back at them all the time. And the other side seeing a developer team that has grasped its hold over all the official servers and banning people at their will, and they seem to be wanting to fight back at it. And it makes sense, I understand why. But because of it, these two sides have clashed in the middle, and it means there is no place for the new gamer. There's no place for the casual person that just wants to pop on and have some fun, because there's always two sides clashing at each other, and when you're stuck in the middle, it's just a horrible experience. Now, Mordhau does have a future. There are new updates and new maps coming out. The developers are doing a good job of keeping it updated. There are also some amazing mods. The gameplay I've seen from the Star Wars mods looks fantastic, and I really want to get my hands on that as soon as possible, maybe even make some content on it. So Mordhau's community isn't all bad. They have people that genuinely are there because they love the game, and if that's one of you, thank you. Thank you for keeping this game and trying to make it what it should be, rather than giving it this reputation that I'm sure everyone watching this video knows that Mordhau has, of a terrible and toxic community. Please, be on the right side of this. Understand that if you want one of your favorite games to do well, it's got to have a community that people want to play in. But what do you guys think? Please leave your comments down below. I can already tell this will probably get a few more dislikes than usual, but I thought it was an interesting topic to bring up, and I think it's something that not a lot of people have talked about on YouTube. And I think also, whether you agree with me or not, I think everyone can see that there's an issue here. A community that doesn't seem quite right. A game that should be the way something like Mount & Blade is, in terms of its fan base and its modders and its community events and everyone growing together, but it seems to be fighting the other way. And I think whether you're on the side of the developers or you're on the side of the people fighting against that, I think you can see there's still an issue here. So please, like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike if you didn't, but leave a comment telling me what your thoughts on the situation are. But subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and until then, I will see you in the next one.